Hey guys, what's happening? Budo Jake here. It is August 5th and I am sitting in LA traffic on the way to Gracie Baja headquarters. Tonight's Nogi night, one of my favorite nights of the week. And it's been a while since I've done something casual like this. Of course, we're putting out the episodes of This Week in BJJ every week. But Budo Dave has been telling me that I should make more vlogs. And I like the idea of vlogs because it allows me to be a little bit more casual, a little less scripted, and just talk about things that are on my mind. So, the thing I want to talk about today is motivation. And I know most of you guys that are watching are jiu-jitsu students. And you know, I come across people all the time that say, wow, you're a jiu-jitsu black belt, that's so cool. That's something that I'd like to do, but, and then fill in the blank. They come up with so many excuses. And most of you guys out there have done the hardest part. You've walked into an academy, you've signed up, you're probably training. But there are probably a lot of you guys that aren't training right now. Maybe you used to, and for whatever reason you stopped. Or maybe you're just not training very much. Maybe you're going once a week, maybe twice a week. And I know things happen, you know, life gets in the way, particularly for the older grapplers. You know, family and work definitely can get in the way of training. But, you know, if you really want something, you're going to make it happen. And more often than not, you could go to the academy. But, and I'm speaking from experience here, sometimes you let that little part of your brain that says, hey, why don't you stay home tonight? You let that part speak up and you listen to it. Now, it's been a long time since I have given that voice, when I've listened to that voice. I used to, you know, go sometimes and not go sometimes, but for the most part, for the past 15 years or so, I have committed myself to my training. I've told myself I'm going to go, you know, these days a week, whether it be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever the case may be, and I've stuck to that. And sticking to a schedule like that is tough because that means you're giving up a lot of things. You know, you give up hanging out with your friends who don't train. You know, you give up maybe hanging out with your spouse, or if you're not married, you give up going out. You know, give up on going out on dates. There's so many things that you give up if you train a lot. So it's not an easy thing. But if you commit to a regular schedule, 3-4 times a week, then so many good things start happening. Number one, financially. You know, people say that jiu-jitsu is expensive, and it is. You know, there's a lot of schools, at least around here where I am, that are $150, $200 a month. That's a lot of money. But if you're training 3 or 4 times a week or more, if you do the math, that's pretty cheap entertainment. Now, if you're going once a week and you're paying $200 a month, then you're basically paying $50 a class. And that is a lot of money. That's too expensive. But if you're going, you know, you can do the math yourself. The more you go, the cheaper it gets. That's the point I'm trying to make. So, you know, if you're going out drinking or watching movies or whatever the case may be, you're going to be spending a lot more money than you are if you just go train jiu-jitsu. So number one, training actually gets cheaper the more you do it. You know, another thing is, if you're at the gym all the time, you're probably not going to be getting into trouble. You're probably not going to be making stupid financial decisions, getting into debt. So training basically keeps you on the right track. And another huge thing is health. You know, training is, generally speaking, healthy for you. You're burning calories, you're getting in shape. If you're only training once or twice a week and eating like crap, then you're not gonna develop a good, strong, healthy body. But you know what? I train about 4 times a week, and I don't eat much junk, but I indulge on occasion. So you know, I could be super strict with my diet and have an amazing body, but to me, I like to enjoy my food. You know, my wife's a great cook, and I like fried foods too. So I love ramen as well. So you know, I eat what I like eating. But since I'm training for about 4 times a week, I can eat almost whatever I want, and I don't gain weight. I've been the same weight, you know, for as long as I can remember, and that's pretty awesome. If I was only training twice a week, for sure, I'd be gaining weight, getting a little soft. But I'm very happy with my physique now, and I enjoy eating whatever I want. But that's only because I'm training 4 times a week. So I think you just have to ask yourself, what do you want? You know, do you want to move up in rank? Well, you're probably going to have to be training fairly regularly to do that. Not only is your instructor not going to notice if you're not training very much, he's not going to notice you, but also you might not be able to hang at that next belt level. You know, if you're a blue belt training twice a week and then you get your purple belt, you might not be ready for that. And that's fine. You know, the belt color is arbitrary, but I know a lot of guys, when they get that belt, they want to be able to hang at that belt level. So if you are training regularly, then you're going to be ready for it. That being said, I've never felt ready for any of the belts I was given, but you trust in your instructors, you take what they give you, and then I think you get motivated to live up to that belt level, live up to their expectations of you. So getting promoted is actually a motivator to train harder, in my opinion. But, you know, what do you want? Do you want to be a black belt? Then you better train hard. You better get into shape. And again, I know not everybody's going to be able to, but only you know if your excuses are valid or not. You know, if you're working a 60-hour-a-week job and you got a wife and kids who are depending on you, then you have a lot of valid excuses not to train 4 times a week. But you know what? There are guys that do, even with that schedule. I've talked to plenty of them. But, you know, I guess my main point is know your reasons for not training. And if you're happy for those reasons, then it's all good. I'm not saying everybody has to train 4 or 5 times a week, but I've come across a lot of guys that are not satisfied with their ability and they want to train more, but they come up with excuses why not to train. So if that's you, then, you know, examine those reasons and commit yourself to a regular schedule. You know, that's what discipline is. It's setting up a framework and following it. For me, that is training at minimum 3 times a week, 2 hours a time, and I let very few things come in the way of that. You know, if I have an offer to do something fun, usually I'll turn it down because I don't like things coming in the way of my schedule. Because you let that happen once, twice, and then pretty much soon your schedule falls apart. You know, I want to commit myself to that schedule every, you know, in my case, every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I am not available. I'm at the academy. I'll see you when I get home, and after I take my shower, we'll talk. But, so anyway, guys, I don't want to make this too long, but just want to hopefully give you guys a little motivation. Set a schedule, stick to that schedule, and don't worry about your progress. You will progress. If you're training 4 times a week, you're gonna move up quickly. So that's about it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna try to make these vlogs a little more regular. If you have any questions or anything you want me to talk about, I'll be happy to, because as you can see, I spend quite a bit of time in this LA traffic. All right, guys. Talk to you later.